There you go. Mute.
Started, so.
All right, we're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on January 15th, 2020. Would the temporary clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Patricia Clay.
Here.
Alderman at Large Michael O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman at Large Brandon Michael Laws. Absent. Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly. Absent. Alderman Linda Harriet Gathright. Present. And Alderwoman Elizabeth Lou.
Here.
All right,
In
now,
attendance.
oh, excuse me. Did you get everybody?
Yeah.
And we have, of course, Mr. Kuchen. Is there, first item is public comment. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment to the committee? If not, we need to elect, of course, we have Alderwoman Harriet Gathright here as temporary clerk. We need to elect the clerk of the committee. Alderwoman Klee.
Mayor, I'd like to nominate Linda Harriet Gathright, Alderman, for the committee clerk.
We have the nomination of Alderwoman Harriet Gathright for the clerk of the committee. Are there any other nominations? Is there a motion to close nominations?
I'd like to make a motion to close.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And is there a motion to cast a unanimous vote for Alderwoman Harriet Gathright?
I'd like to make a motion to cast one vote for Alderwoman Linda Harriet Gathright.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and Alderwoman Harriet Gathright is the clerk of the committee. Now, for our new members, function of the Finance Committee is to consider and approve all contracts with the city. The city enters above the number of $25,000. And so you will see on every agenda a number of contracts that are up for consideration. That's the main function of the committee. The Finance Committee is a creation of the city charter. Under the charter, the mayor, in this case, that's me, chairs the committee, and then there are 6 members of the Board of Aldermen appointed by the president that serve on the committee. In addition, we consider the record of expenditures every time, which is the list of checks that the city has issued. Those get approved by the Finance Committee. And those are the basics. So if anybody, any of our new members or anyone else has any questions about any of the procedure or what we're up to, please don't hesitate to ask. So, Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Mayor Don just called, wait a minute. Public comments?
No,
Did
we're
that
on the
one?
first
So
item from
communications?
Mr. Kuchen.
Okay. Communications. Dan Kuchen, Purchasing Manager. Emergency PO request, $45,565. Sole source for undercarriage replacement on the solid waste Caterpillar dozer, number 15072.
And is there a motion to accept this communication and place it on file?
Mayor,
Yes?
I'd like to make a motion to
Accept and place on file?
Place on file.
Now, what we have here is something that's a little, not totally unusual, but it's not the typical item. This is a notice of an emergency expenditure that had to be made, which under the ordinances of the city, the mayor has to inform the Board of Aldermen via the Finance Committee about, and here we're simply moving to accept the communication and place it on file. So this is an emergency repair that was already done, and this is simply a communication telling you that this has occurred. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, scheduled replacement of ladder truck value at $1,311,817, Department 152, Fire Rescue Fund, SURF.
And that is a motion to approve this contract. So we have I think Ms. Marchant is here to discuss the, oh, 'cause this is the ladder truck,
Is it
sorry, come
ladder
on up, sorry. Well, they just sat there, I figured, oh, when I'm not on the right item. So the fire department is here, right? Come on up. Sorry. No one moved, I figure, well, I must be on the wrong item. All right, so we have Chief Rhodes to, I think, explain this item to us, for us.
Good evening and Happy New Year to the board. I am Brian Rhodes. I have the pleasure of serving as your fire chief, and this evening I have Deputy Chief Steve Buxton with me. So tonight we are here to request funds for the purchase of a 105-foot aerial ladder truck that is on the SURF scheduled replacement plan for this year. What we typically do is we have our ladder trucks in service for 15 years. We then place them in reserve status so that we can always maintain operational readiness in the city because there's always a breakdown or there's always preventive maintenance or something. So what we will do is the vehicle we're replacing would become the reserve apparatus, and we'd be replacing the vehicle known in our organization as Ladder 4, which is a 1995 105-foot aerial. The reason why we've kind of got out of the rotation with this was 4 years ago, we purchased Ladder 2, which is a 95-foot platform. And we couldn't keep the other platform as a spare. We didn't want two. So we sold that outright. This board approved that sale to the town of Orleans, Vermont. So this is why this vehicle, Ladder 4, is at the 25-year mark, which coincidentally is still functioning today in frontline service. So if there's any other questions, I could let Chief Buxton speak, because he has worked diligently with the apparatus committee as to what this replacement will be.
And of course, this is contingent upon the Board of Aldermen passing the bond that was introduced last night, which would pay for the ladder.
Correct. As I said, this is a scheduled replacement, but out of respect for the board and the work that it takes to put the planning and the logistics of one of these vehicles together, we didn't want to rush it last year in 19 at the end of the year. But yes, the city has taken the stance many years ago that vehicles of this dollar amount will be bonded, so this will be contingent upon a bond sale.
And I think there's a public hearing scheduled, I forgot what
Yes.
date, but. Any questions or comments for the fire department?
I do have.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes, the 95 Pierce, that's currently the spare. Is that the one that's breaking down, or is the one of the newer Pierces is the one that has had some mechanical? And if it does, has Pierce looked at that? I know years ago we had a problem with pumping with Pierce, overheating at fires and everything, and just wonder if they're working to address this. I understand mechanical, electronics, and there's a whole new avenue where we used to pull levers. Now everything is electronic, and that little switch can break. I understand all that, but are they trying to get beyond that?
Mr. Mayor, may I answer?
Yes, of course.
Alderman, yes. Unfortunately, all of our apparatus are controlled by computers. And that is the single most point of problem we have. I can say that between our mechanical staff, which are second to none, the local dealership in Walpole, Massachusetts, and the manufacturer, they've been very responsive to try to fix what's happening. And with that being said, they allotted us a dollar amount for kind of the problems we've been incurring to bring the price of this vehicle down. So you can see that it was written for not to exceed 1.4 million, and we're coming in at 1.3.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, thank you. It's just more of a statement at this point. I'm glad that you mentioned that, Chief, because we are spending good money, but if they are owning up, and I understand mechanical failure on anything electronic. I had my even Jeep, the battery died, and it caused more issues. I couldn't put the thing into neutral, believe it or not. And I never saw anything like it in my life. But anyway, such is the way of the electronics. So if they are compensating for this, I think, because I love Pierce. Pierce is a reliable, pretty much reliable. I've worked with them for many years other than the Max, and it is a good company. So thank you, Chief, for the information.
Any other questions or comments? Not all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Mayor.
Oops. Oh, Alderwoman Liu.
Yeah, my question is, I'm not quite clear on whether the vote will be to approve purchase of this. But if it is, I had a question about, so it's contingent on the bond, which is going to be voted on at the next BOA meeting. And I noticed that there is a, the price is good through January 31st, and then there's a 3% increase. And do you expect that? So are we looking to make this purchase by January 31st?
Steve Buxton, Nashville Fire. Yes, to avoid the 3% price increase, we would be looking to make that purchase prior to January 31st.
I think to answer your question, to make it more palatable for you, no, we're not going to purchase it. Yes, we're going to lock in the price. I think the manufacturer is, we've been a customer of Pierce Manufacturing since 1986. They know us very well. They understand the legislative process, and they will be comfortable knowing that we have approval of the Finance Committee contingent upon the passage of a bond legislation.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, contract for H.L. Turner Engineering, permitting and inspection services for Jackson Falls turbine replacement for $442,521. Department 181, Community Development Fund, bond.
And now I believe it is time for Ms. Marchant to come up.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Sarah Marchant, Community Development Division. I am here before you to talk about a contract for engineering services with H.L. Turner Group. We have been through a long process before you several times already for the Jackson Falls Dam, and we've talked about already approving the turbine replacement. This is a multi-part contract. I'm here before you for the first part, which is to secure the engineer of record construction management. H.L. Turner has tremendous experience with this facility. We also recently talked to Pennachucks, who went out to bid and hired both Mavel, who we are looking to contract with, and H.L. Turner. Had nothing but wonderful things to say. They were the low bidder on their contract and finished the project on time and on budget. So at this point, I'm here to recommend H.L. Turner for a contract for this project.
Questions, discussion? Alderman O'Brien.
With this new turbine, will we be under the restriction of generating 1 meter?
1
1
megawatt.
megawatt? Or is it going to be geared to rotation that it could go up to, let's say, 5, if somebody were to write a bill?
And get it passed through the state?
For the Jackson Falls facility, there's a very important consideration that this facility is exempt from licensing. And we are going through relicensing with Mine Falls. Relicensing is an extremely expensive process. And so to avoid becoming a licensed facility where we'd have to go through relicensing, we need to keep it at the exact same megawatt. There would not be possible to fit a 5 megawatt turbine in this facility anyways. It just wouldn't work here. So we are meeting the same standards of a new generator, of a new turbine and control system as the previous. There are more efficiencies to be gained, so it might be able to produce slightly more power, but it would be the same general setting to be a 1 megawatt facility.
Alderwoman Clee.
So, excuse me, but as the fact that it's non-licensed, if it did generate a little bit more, it would still be considered a 1 megawatt, and we would be still falling within any parameters of the states.
Yes,
No more than 1.
correct. So we do net meter this facility, and our goal is to continue to net meter this facility.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, contract for purchase of one new Bobcat skid steer valued at $68,800. Department 166 Parking Operations Fund, SURF.
I think Mr. Cummings is here on this.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development.
Can you just explain what the skidster is and what you do with it?
Yes,
Why it's
so
going to be replaced.
this evening, I'm here seeking the ability to purchase a Bobcat, which we use for a few different reasons. Primarily, though, the clearing and maintaining of sidewalks for snow removal services here in the downtown. This also piece of equipment is critical for us because it's one of the few pieces of equipment that can fit along the Heritage Trail as well for the removal of the snow along that critical piece of infrastructure. And then lastly, we use this piece of equipment to remove snow off of the top of the roofs of the garages, as it's the only piece of equipment that can actually remove the snow at the top of the garages. So this is before you this evening. It complies with all the SURF schedule.
Questions? Alderwoman Clee.
We currently have one of these. Will we be trading it in, or is this an addition to, or?
This would be in addition to, it's it's referenced here as S185. It's
Right.
pretty old and it's at its end of life, and so we're going to try to just use it and get what we can out of it until it no longer
death.
functions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
So we only have one at all times?
If for my individual.
Oh, for your.
Correct.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes,
Thank you.
and the contract is approved. Thank you very much. Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, contract for design and construction for the Division of Public Works Facility, valued at $997,204. Department 160 Administration/Engineering Fund Bond.
And this is Lisa Photo, Director of Public Works. So we have now a motion to approve the design and construction, the contract for the design of the Public Works facility. Maybe
Sure.
if you
So
could.
this is the, HKT is the architect for the DPW facility, the bond that was approved. Back probably 2 years now, I guess, maybe longer. We had put out an RFQ for architectural services when we were looking at Burke Street, and HKT was the chosen company. They've done a fair amount of programming already for the facility, so it made sense to continue working with them. This contract really takes us through completion of the facility. There's a number of items that HKT will be doing for us, from preliminary work through schematic design, design development phase. There's also, this will include things like architectural services, civil engineering services, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing services, building and life code safety. Cost estimating is not included. There's a number of other items, landscape architecture, conceptual design, all of that, and also structural. So that's all included in this contract.
Alderwoman Clee.
Yes, and I know this is just the design, but for those that are listening in the audience, could you just remind us as to what divisions will be housed in this once it is built and
Sure.
so on?
Yep, absolutely. So it'll be administration and engineering, park and rec, and solid waste, of course, will be there, and some of the street department.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? And the contract is approved. Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, tractor replacement including attachments valued at $121,985. Department 177, Parks and Recreation Fund, SURF.
You want me to speak? This is a tractor that we've had for a long time. It's actually 23 years old. It's replacing a 23-year-old tractor. It's really pretty critical to our park and rec operation. We use it for fertilizing fields, aerating soil, applying control products, working on infields, installing playground equipment, and so on and so forth. We are going to keep the 23-year-old tractor and keep it as a backline, and we're trading 2 older tractors that haven't actually run in a few years. The other thing that we are doing with this tractor, which we're very excited about, is we're adding some attachments that will help us to do additional work and make us more efficient. A front load bucket that helps us with removing snow and loading trucks, a stump grinder, which we currently don't have, which will be very helpful, an over-the-rail mowing attachment, which we don't have. We subcontract all of that out. We will continue to subcontract out a lot of that, but we'll be able to do some of it ourselves now, which will be great. A grapple bucket to lift logs into a truck, and a grater box, which will help us to improve our baseball and softball surfaces. So this will be a really pretty critical piece of equipment for us.
Alderwoman Clee.
Sorry to keep bothering you so much, but the over-the-rail, is that like on streets where we have rails, or in the parks, or?
So currently we have a contract. So over guardrails, all of the trimming that's done, you've probably
Right,
seen
yeah.
them doing that. We'll be able to do some of that ourselves. That's what it is. It's to go over a guardrail and trim along the side of the road.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? And the contract is approved. Next, Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, contract for WWTF 20-year facility study valued at $300,000, Department 169 Wastewater Fund, wastewater.
Okay, so this is something that actually has never been done and is pretty important. The wastewater treatment facility is undoubtedly one of the city's most critical and valuable assets. And we're getting more and more tough EPA regulations that are coming forth in our permits, and our NPDES permit regulations. And so we thought it was really important at this time to do this study to see, what the financial needs will be down the road for the wastewater treatment plant, and also maybe some other things that we should be thinking about down the road to be able to maintain compliance with our permits. So we are recommending Wright Pierce. Wright Pierce actually is the consultant that's probably most familiar with our plant, so they definitely would be the best fit to do this comprehensive 20-year study.
Alderwoman Clee.
I had a question. So this study, will this include looking into possible expansion, which I know we've talked about before? And I know and just to follow up on that, I know that we've had to do a lot of replacements and so on, and because you've been doing a great job with the maintenance and
Yes.
trying to bring everything up. Will they be looking at that, or will they just be looking at our compliance issues?
No, they'll be looking at that. So it'll include looking at our current and projected future flows. We'll be looking at the plant hydraulics and our treatment capacity, which you just referred to see that there's been, Nash was pretty well built out. I'm not sure that we actually will need the capacity. We've got a little bit of capacity, but we really need to nail that down to figure out exactly how much capacity that we have left. So yes, we will be looking at all of that.
Just one follow-up.
And our future capital needs and all of that.
Just to follow up, I know you said that we're at capacity, we may only need a little bit more, but it might behoove us to do that expansion in case we had a fail or anything, that we'd have that other tank. Is that, I mean, I remember them talking about possibly needed to grow. That was part of the Burke Street project and
Yes.
buying that extra land so we had the space.
So that wouldn't necessarily only be for an expansion. That would be, for instance, one of the things that we'll be doing in the next 5 years will be building a facility to treat for phosphorus. And so that'll need land. So as regulations tighten and increase, we'll need to think about doing some different, probably doing some different treatments, but I'm not sure that we'll need to expand at this point, but this study will tell us that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Dan Coogan, Purchasing Manager, contract for Phase 3 landfill, engineering amendment number 1, valued at $89,700, Department 168 Solid Waste Fund, Solid Waste.
So the motion is to approve the contract.
Would you like to take these together, Mayor, because they're related?
The
One is the consulting for the.
Yes, we'll have to vote separately,
Okay.
but why don't you
Okay.
discuss,
So,
why don't you discuss them
Can I discuss
together?
both?
Yes. of
Okay. It's hard to understand the
Yes,
consulting if you
that's
don't
fine.
understand the charter, the first. So this is related to our Phase 3 landfill, which we have finally completed. We're just waiting now for DES to give us approval to start putting trash in this cell. We had. There is a certain, without getting into too much detail, there's a certain amount of soil that needs to go between the groundwater table and the liner. That was very difficult to determine until we were actually in it. Unfortunately, the water table was a bit higher than we had hoped, so we did have to put additional fill. That took some time. We had to do an extension for charter, and that included also not only more fill, more time, and also more liner. So that's part of what this is. The other part of this change order is that they wanted us to be able to hook up our our ability to pump leachate to our generator in case we had a power failure. So that is why we have this change order primarily. But it is all complete now, and we're just waiting, like I said, for approval to start placing trash.
Alderwoman Clee. We could just make it a standing motion. Or standing
I'll just say,
recognition.
could you just come right over to me?
Yeah.
I just went to a solid waste program that I just talked to, and I just learned about leachate. Do we monitor that? I know they said this is one of the bigger issues that are coming up with the leachate. Didn't quite understand what it was, but when you were talking about this, the water levels and having to do the excess tanks and so on, and do we release these?
So the leachate doesn't have anything to do with that. So leachate is essentially liquid that comes from the trash and goes down into a pipe it's actually pumped to the treatment plant right now. It goes through the pump station at Trestlebrook and off to the treatment plant. So but the groundwater that I was referring to is just regular groundwater that just needs to be a certain level between the groundwater and the liner.
Underneath the
Underneath, yeah.
Underneath the liner, okay.
Underneath the liner.
Thank
The
you so
groundwater that's
much.
underneath the liner, yeah.
Any other questions, comments? All right, so the motion is on the contract for the engineering.
And those are the consulting services that went along with what I just mentioned to you.
Right.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Dan Kuchen, Purchasing Manager, contract for Phase 3 landfill, construction change order number 2, valued at $191,271. Department 168 Solid Waste Fund, Solid Waste.
So this is the construction portion of
Correct.
the change order.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
No?
None.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you very much. Unfinished business, we have none. New business resolutions, none. New business ordinances, none. The record of expenditures. Is there a motion on the record of expenditures? Alderwoman Harriet Gathright.
Motion by Alderman, that the Finance Committee has completed with the city charter and ordinance pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period from December 27, 2019 to January 9, 2020.
Any questions or discussion? Yes, Alderwoman Lou. Sorry. Alderwoman Lou.
Where is it?
Oh,
Is that something that was part of the packet?
That's just.
so this is delivered to us at the committee meeting, every meeting.
Okay,
And the idea is, once it's approved, the members of the committee sign it, and we give it to the city treasurer.
yes, okay. All right, so I would have looked at it or done my whatever I wanted to do with it before the meeting?
You could do that, yes.
Okay, all right.
Now, we're relying largely on the accuracy of the accounting department. It's just, it's a list of the checks. But if you had a question regarding any of these checks,
Sure.
you could get a copy of this in advance of the meeting. You could talk to the CFO, who's here, John Griffin, or you could ask him now.
Okay.
That's sort of the normal order, the normal procedure on the record of expenditures. So the motion now is to approve the record of expenditures. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. General discussion. Any items of general discussion? Public comment. I do not see any members of the public who wish to speak to the committee. Remarks by alderman. Any remarks by alderman? Alderman O'Brien.
Well, it should be your new vice chair.
Alderwoman Clee.
I will allow her. She hasn't spoken much during the meeting.
I was just going.
I've just been so quiet during this
I
whole
yield,
meeting.
thank
Well, I
you.
was going to the senior, the senior member. Alderwoman Clee.
I'd like to make it a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and the meeting is adjourned at 7:33 PM.
I've been so.